All right, Justin. Is it working? All right, good. Good morning. As Wendy said, I'm Barry Brown. I'm here with my wife, Tanya. Most of you guys have recognized us, talked to us. We've been here since July. I want to thank you for this opportunity. Before I kind of dive into how the Lord is leading me, I'll give you a quick snapshot of who I am. I'll try to make it quick. If I start to go too long, just like wave me off, all right? I usually don't talk a lot, but I can get going. Born and raised in New Jersey, South Jersey specifically. So kind of a Philly guy. Yeah. As most of you saw me in the Eagle stuff during the playoffs. Born and raised in a large Irish, Italian, Catholic family. And with all of that comes a lot of stuff, you know. I was an altar server. I lived around the corner from the church. I used to play football out on the street with my buddies. It was not uncommon for the priest to open up the door and say, Barry, and my buddy's name was Harry. He's like, Barry and Harry, get in here. I need somebody to serve this funeral or serve this wedding or whatever. So very common, big community, a lot of good stuff. Was raised by a big family, a lot of aunts involved in my life. Graduated high school, met my first wife, moved to North Carolina, took a job. I was a land surveyor. Got a degree as a biology, never used it a day in my life. My dad still wonders about that. He's like, why do we pay for a biology degree? But started surveying, went to North Carolina, lived in Raleigh, outside of Raleigh for a while, and got the career going, built a house, had the family going, had 4 children, moved to Wilmington, North Carolina. Really loved North Carolina. Work led me to Virginia Beach. First marriage was having some problems. We battled through it for about 10 years. A lot of counseling, a lot of stuff. Ultimately, we decided this isn't going to work. We need to move on. So that was in Virginia Beach. A couple years later, met Tanya. And, of course, my first marriage, I had 4 children. And met Tanya, and I got 2 more children. So it worked out well. Tanya and I met down there. A couple years into our marriage, we're like, we're ready to move out of Virginia Beach. So here we are. Okay, so now I'm going to fill in a little bit of how the Lord has led through that quick snapshot. A couple weeks ago, Jeanette asked me if I would be willing to have this conversation. No brainer, absolutely, nope, not going to have this conversation. So, but no sooner I could get that out of my mouth came, sure, I can do this. So I walked away from her and I was thinking, all right, what am I going to talk about? I said, I've never thought about how the Lord leads me. It's never crossed my mind. I've just been bouncing through life, right? So I've been praying about it a lot, thinking about it a lot. Tanya says, what notes do you have? What are you taking up there to talk about? I said, there's no notes, babe. I'm winging this. So, but I did take some notes on my phone. I was like, okay, I can make some notes on my phone. So over the last couple of weeks, I've made some notes and putting thoughts together. And then it kind of, I think it's a little bit of a little bit of my whole life experience, the whole Christian experience, the whole Catholic experience, the whole thought of how the Lord has been working with me through the Trinity. And it was kind of odd last week when Wendy teed up the video about the Trinity. I looked at Tanya and I'm like, they're going to think I'm cheating off the notes from this video. I said, I said to her, I was like, can I show you my notes? And she's like, no. I said, I just need someone to back me up that this was pre that video. So anyway, so I gave it a lot of thought, and what came to my mind was the Lord said to me over the last couple weeks, he said, I've been leading you your whole life. You just haven't been paying attention. I've been there in all 3 forms in different ways. And so, you know, I'll summarize it this way. He's leading me to him to be more of a loving person, right? In our group, we talked with Carl and Betty and Jenny and Larry. We've talked about the fruit of the Spirit recently. He's been leading me in that direction for a while. I mean, my whole life. You just don't pay attention, right? I made it through the 80s somehow. I don't know how that happened. But he says, you know, as I'm leading you through my son through education, right? Through Jesus, through his experiences, through his life, through his teaching. It's all about what love is. So in my mind, I broke this down. Through God or through Jesus, it's what is love, right? So for me, that was an easy concept to understand. He's leading me through Jesus, through the Bible, through the teachings of what is love, okay? Through the Holy Spirit, I feel like he's leading me through how does love feel, okay? So the examples of that, I could talk quite a bit about examples of that, but through the Holy Spirit, I feel like he's leading me through what I call I am moments. I am here moments. So whether it's when I was a kid sitting in the back of church on a Sunday night and it's quiet and I could kind of shift into some peaceful time and pray, that was an I am moment for me and the Lord in that moment. Whether it's driving in my car and listening to a song for the first time or hearing a song over and over again that touches me, brings me to tears. Those are I am moments. Whether it's through nature's a big thing for me. Hiking on top of a mountain, just listening to the breeze blow, listening to the birds. These are all I am moments. And by that, I mean the Lord is there in that moment for me. He's leading me. He's letting me know this is what love feels like. So I've taught you how, through Jesus, through his sacrifice, what love is. And now, through all these moments of life, I'm teaching you that I am here. And through the Holy Spirit, he works predominantly, strongly in my life through people. Right? My grandmother was a devout Catholic. She was rosary every day, church every day, but she led me to what it felt like to be a good, true Christian. My mother, Tanya knows I could talk about my mom for an hour and a half. My mom was severely mentally ill with a potpourri of different mental illnesses. And I had a very wild childhood, many times crazy adventures. Thrown on a plane, drive to California, like all of this stuff. But the thing that was interesting about my mom is she was very difficult for people to digest. She was very in your face. She wore a lot of crazy makeup, like really bright colors, bright clothing. Her voice was really loud. She sang all the time, and she would approach strangers out of the blue and just make everybody uncomfortable. But the thing about her that was interesting was that the moment you gave her 30 seconds to talk, you fell in love with her. Every single person I ever met, they would fall in love with her. Because the first thing she would say to you, even though it was in your face, she would say, you know you're a child of God, right? And that always took people back, right? Like, oh, here we go. And but she was unapologetic. She was unapologetic. You're a child of God, and in your face about it all the time. But she would hug you, and she would walk up to babies and hug them. And she did things that were socially awkward, but I lived my whole life with this woman. And so I used to say to Tanya, and I said to everybody, if you've grown up with Eileen, you can pretty much handle any personality. And it's very true. But what I learned from her was how to truly, genuinely love. How to just unapologetically love, and the Lord working through her. So that was a big relationship with the Holy Spirit working through her. I am here, over and over again, all the time. And then as the Father, right? So the Son, the Holy Spirit as the Father. As the Father, it's really all about guiding me, challenging me, educating me, right? The reason I'm here today is because the Father has been talking to me, right? He's talked to Tanya and I when we were down there. He's like, you need to find something better. Probably the biggest example of the Father leading me, challenging me, was I was raised Catholic. I raised my children Catholic, school, high school, the whole 9 yards. And I woke up one day and the Lord said, you have to leave this. You have to leave this church. You do not have a relationship with me. And that was the big deal for me was, I just described how I grew up, my whole world. And it was basically walk away from everything you know religion-wise and start over. And that was scary, but I did it. And it was the best thing I've ever done. The Lord led me to that. He led me to take that leap of faith, go to some other churches. When Tanya and I moved here, we said we got to find a church that's the correct fit for us, that leads us to have a relationship with God. That was it in a nutshell. And if we're honest with each other, if we're honest with this congregation, we moved here in July pretty convinced we were never going to find a church that fit us. And we tried one or two churches. We came here, and we're like, We walked out of here that first day after being greeted by Larry and being greeted by Carl and Betty. We walked out of here and we're like, okay, this is going to work. And it's been a great fit. So the Lord has led us, continues to lead us, led us to some good career opportunities for both of us. And that's how the Lord is leading me.